because he may not have, I'm putting him in supine, which is a really easy position to do exercises for patients who are really low level and may not have any sitting balance. Okay? So he may not have a lot of control of this left lower extremity. He may not be able to sit, and he certainly probably is not able to stand at this point. So I'm going to have to assist and maintain the position of this leg. So I'm going to put one of my hands over his knee to make sure that his leg doesn't go in and out, that it doesn't slide, so that I can hold it here, okay? So, one of the things that you're going to have to make sure is in getting the forward rotation or the protraction of the pelvis is that he actually has the range to do that. So you may well have been doing pelvic mobilization prior to doing this exercise, just so that you know you've got the range. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hand on his pelvis, and the sequence is to do it passively first. So I'm going to be pushing downward for weight bearing for his knee into his foot into the mat, and I'm going to be protracting his pelvis. Okay? So he's not rolling. I'm protracting the pelvis, and it's only about 5 degrees, so it's not a lot of movement. Okay? Then I let him down. So that's the first thing I do, is do it passively. The next thing that I do is I want him to try to hold that movement. So again, I'm going to bring him up into protraction. I'm still going to keep my hand here and assist with weight bearing, but I'm going to ask Mark to hold that movement. Okay? He can hold it. Some of your patients are not going to be able to hold it. Now I'm going to let him down. Okay? You just add one thing at a time. Now what I'm going to do is do an eccentric. So I'm going to bring him up. I'm going to ask him to hold, and then I'm going to ask him to lower. And what I'm looking for is a nice, slow, controlled movement into lying flat, being in a neutral position of the pelvis, which he was able to do. Okay, some patients are not going to be able to release. Some patients are just going to flop. Now what I'm going to do, the next one is the concentric. So I'm going to ask him to lift up and to hold and to let it down. Okay? So that's what I'm looking for, is that he can do with that. But remember what we also said with NDT is anytime you're touching the patient, you're giving him cues. So I've been assisting this whole time with weight bearing, down through his knee into his foot into the mat. So I want to see, can he do this exercise and can he maintain the weight bearing? So the last thing that I can add to this is that the patient does it with no hands with the therapist. Okay, so go ahead, lift up, hold, and let it down.
Avoid Gabriel.
Good. Okay. And then you can see, does he have adequate weight bearing? It'll tell you a lot about, is he going to be able to do any weight bearing in sitting and standing? And so you're going to look at the quality of it with no hands, no tactile cues from you at all. Okay? So let me go through the sequence one more time. The affected side, you're going to flex the hip and the knee. My pressure is down through the knee, into the ankle, into the mat, giving him some extra weight bearing. What I'm going to do first is to do it passively. Again, only 5 degrees, not a lot of movement. And bring him down. Next, I'm going to bring him up, ask him to hold, and then I'm going to bring him down. Next, I'm going to bring him up, ask him to hold, and ask him to lower himself. Lastly, he's going to lift up, hold, let himself down, and then I'm going to ask him to do the same thing with no tactile input from me. Okay? Make sure that your patient is not doing that activity by pushing down on their other side. Okay, so that they're not lifting up the pelvis bilaterally. Make sure it's just one side. Okay, any questions? Okay, go ahead and